been sober. Hi, everybody. Welcome to today's show. It is episode 491. It's insane. It's crazy. It's Halloween week. It's so crazy. Halloween's coming up this weekend. We're dropping this next Monday. I have always record a little in advance. And today, our guest, I'm so excited, is Belle Rape. And I said to Belle, "Oh my gosh, your last name is Rape. Is that your married name?" And she's like, "Yes."
Yeah.
And rape, she goes, has a horrible connotation, but it actually has a real meaning for something besides the horrible connotation.
Yep.
And it's a seed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the rapeseed. Yeah. So my family is historically farmers. My husband's family, I married into it. They're historically farmers. So it's a seed that you would plant. So it comes from that, not
Isn't
the
that cool?
connotation. Yeah. So there you go.
What do they farm?
Um, Now we have chickens and cattle. So it's a working farm. We live on a working farm, which is really fun. It's really fun. There's always something new and exciting, and it's always an adventure. The city girl is getting used to.
And do you sell your cows?
Some of them they do. Some of them they sell for beef. Yeah.
Oh,
So, it's nothing like farm raised beef that has just been free range, no pesticides. They're not raised with antibiotics and chemicals. And the meat is so pure and so good. And if you've never had it, you don't know what you're missing. So, yeah.
well, can we get subscriptions for it? Like that, what is that woman who lives out west who married, she's gotten a lot of controversy. The Ballerina Farmer, is that her name? Ballerina something? Oh,
I'm
now I'm
not
gonna have to look it up,
sure.
you guys.
There's a lot of subscription services that are available, but yeah, we mostly keep the cattle like for the family, but the chickens, they do sell the chickens. Yeah. They're mass produced chickens. So we don't typically eat the chickens.
Okay, her name is Ballerina Farm. She's got 10 million followers. So
So
she is a dancer and her husband is a farmer and they have like 9 kids and nobody ever really tells anybody, but her husband's father started JetBlue, the airline. So
oh,
I'm sure they
okay.
have a lot of help. But
Yeah. It takes a lot to keep a farm going. It really does. And it's 24/7. Like there's no stopping. Like the other night, I was so concerned because I heard one of the cows mooing and I was like, that is not normal. It's not normal. But I kept listening for coyotes because I have to listen for coyotes now. And I never heard the coyotes. Well, lo and behold, the cow was having a calf. So, which I saw the next morning while I was out walking the dog. And I was like, we have a calf. So yeah, it's all the sounds that you have to listen for, but it's 24/7. It's nonstop. That's nonstop. Yeah.
it's amazing. I love that. I think it sounds so natural and so, I've been doing this meditation where there's a saint and she oh my gosh, I just lost her. Saint Teresa Averell, and she has this meditation where you go and you get into your soul. And what do you envision if you were in your soul? And what would you see? Like, where would you ideally be and what would you hear? And I always love the sound of animals because it is God's, they're also from God, right? And to
Oh,
hear them all around you must be so relaxing.
it depends. If the dogs are out and can't get themselves together in the middle of the night, then absolutely not. Absolutely not. Oh, yeah. Because you still need to be able to sleep. But yeah, it is quite it can be relaxing. Yeah, because we have our own chickens now too. We have about 6 chickens. We're not getting crazy with chickens, but we have our own chickens now too. So yeah, they start cockle doodle doing. The roosters start going, yeah, around 6 a.m. So yeah, some mornings I'm like, shh, be quiet. We're not doing that yet. We're not doing that yet. But then there's other mornings I'm like, that's really nice. So yeah.
So
Yeah.
you have your own organic eggs, so you don't have to worry about going to the grocery store and paying $9 or $10 for a dozen eggs that you pray are, organic and nothing injected into them. You just go outside and get your eggs and bring them in.
We are almost there. We are almost there. So we got these chicks when they were like chicks, like little littles. So we had 6 of them, and 4 of them were roosters and only 2 of them were hens. So now we have to get rid of some of the roosters, and they're not quite old enough. The hens aren't quite old enough to start laying yet. And so apparently when the weather gets colder, they lay fewer eggs. So we might not actually get any eggs until next spring.
Oh my
So we haven't
gosh.
gotten any eggs yet. Oh, busy. It's been a learning process, a learning process. I've been on Facebook Marketplace. I'm like, hey, how much is your coop? And we need one that's about this size. How many hens can roost in it? I'm like, oh no. No, it's a whole other ball game. But also, like when I cook now, most of the scraps, like I'll put the vegetable scraps to the side and the chickens get to eat those. So I know what our chicken's eating, and you are what you eat eats. So when they do start laying eggs, we know that it'll be good. Yeah. And we won't be
Okay.
paying $28 per egg.
Oh my gosh, that is just so cool. And you mentioned earlier that you are not originally a farm girl.
No, no, not at all. No.
So
I mean,
tell us your
grew
story.
I grew up in the suburbs, and so in a little neighborhood, and my parents had a decent amount of land, like maybe an acre, acre and a half, but not like where we are now. And yeah, we always had a little garden. My stepdad was super handy. He's very outdoorsy. I mean, my parents' yard could have come straight out of Home and Garden, Southern Living magazine, straight out of one of those. Yeah, it was beautiful. So yeah, we always had our own garden, fresh vegetables growing up. But definitely not, I'm not a country girl. I'm like more a city girl than country. So there's always going to be pearls in my life, and I'll have my lipstick on. And because my grandmother was always begging, like, do you have blush on? You need a little color. You need a little color. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So yeah.
And did you grow up in South Carolina?
No, I grew up in Virginia, so just south of Richmond. My roots are south and very southern, very proper. And my grandparents did very well for themselves, and my grandmother has always been the benchmark of anything that I will, um I guess for lack of better words, like compare my life to. Like when I get dressed during the day, it's, would my grandmother wear this? Would she be proud of what I'm wearing? Would I be seen with my grandmother wearing this? She was always very trendy. She was always done and just gorgeous. I mean, the epitome of all things Southern. And very proper, very proper. So that's more of how I grew up. But I grew up playing sports, and I was very athletic growing up. But then I also had to know how to play an instrument. So I play the violin, which is also very proper. Yeah. So did that. I feel like I grew up very, very well rounded, and I was exposed to a lot of things, and my grandparents made sure that I was exposed to a lot of things so that I wasn't put in a situation where I was like, what fork do I use? Very, simplistic things like that that I felt were very simplistic, but would probably take for granted now, because who really uses silver to have dinner, or their china, or the crystal and things like that? I mean, I didn't grow up with a silver spoon in my mouth, but we did use the china and the crystal and the silver. And so I know how to hold myself and carry myself in a proper setting, in a proper situation. So, yeah.
See, so they made sure all that was going on, but was there drama in your house growing up?
Oh, girl, you know how to have a leading question, don't you? Yes, 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 yes. So, and again, I think you and I prayed before we started this, and this is not part of the story that I share. I'm a very private person. So my prayer is that the words that I use on this podcast today are going to be impactful for your audience, and someone can use them to know that they are not alone in this situation. And, obviously we're going to talk about the effects of alcoholism on your family, and, that your audience is not alone. There are other people out there like you. And even if you are not a direct alcoholic or recovering alcoholic, or you are sober without shame, I feel like so many people have a story that they just don't know how to share. So thank you for allowing me to be on this platform and talk about the drama and um, outcomes of that. I'm a byproduct of parents who got divorced because of alcoholism, and one of my earliest memories was of I was probably 2 years old or so, and my father was coming out of an AA clinic, or he was coming out of an alcoholic clinic. I don't know if it was specifically AA or what, but we were waiting for him to come out. And, he is since a recovered alcoholic, and I'm proud of him for that. But our relationship is nothing what it could have been had he not been an alcoholic. And my parents may have stayed together because of his drinking problems. So, yeah, so my parents got divorced when I was about 2 years old. And I was very blessed to have grandparents who stepped in and made sure that, my mom as a single mom was looked after. And, because I had a brother also. So she was a single mom of two young children trying to figure out life again. And, what her life was going to look like. And then fast forward, I have an amazing, incredible stepdad who was able to step in and took on my brother and I like we were his own children, which was beautiful. So, yeah, there was a lot of trauma very, very early on that I don't think really hit me until adulthood. Not even in college, like, not even in college. I was like, I'm free. I'm going to college. I'm going to do my own things. And not even until adulthood did I really realize how much alcoholism, alcohol in general, affects your family and the memories and trauma that it can bring up for you. Yeah. So
It's
it
so
started early.
Thank you so much for sharing this and saying yes. Now,
Yeah.
I'm going to let everybody know I've worked with Belle before. She's an amazing brander, and she's amazing at putting what together you're going to wear. So you guys are going to have to look her up if you need help, because she's amazing, especially if you're out there and you're feeling like maybe just like I need some help and I need some support. And she's the person that will help you on the outside stuff. I always help on the inside. She's the outside girl. But it's so interesting because so many people there's so many more people than we know that are dealing with an addict that is in their family. It's either
Mhm,
their parent, their aunt, their uncle, their cousin, their next door neighbor, someone or in your community is battling this disease. And
mhm.
it's so hard for the loved ones to get help
Yeah.
because we think it's all about him. He needs to go get help. What is wrong? And I'm referring to your dad, of course. But for me, it was like, I want my family to understand what my disease is. And it's not a moral problem, right? It's literally a dis-ease that we have inside of us. And when you look at an insurance company, because if you want to go get treatment, it falls under the subheading of mental health.
Mm. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I feel like personally, the missing link is the family.
Mm. Right. Tell me more. Why do you think that it is more of the family?
Because I think that the family, I've helped so many people in so many families. I've been blessed to be able to do this, I feel. And I think that the loved one goes off is a train wreck in the house, right? Whoever's the addict, and they're like a tornado, let's say, that you've let into your home, right? You don't know what you're getting. It could be really stormy and really windy, or one day it could be really calm, but the inside and what comes out very softly, and it's very angry and mean, right?
Yeah.
You have
Yeah.
no idea. You have no idea. And this person is just, but you love them so much. You're like, I love this person. When they come home and they don't drink and they're I want to say, I hate the word normal because normal to me is Wonder Bread without crust.
Yeah.
Um, but they come in and they're normal and they aren't reeking of alcohol and they aren't causing the havoc like the tornado. You love them so much, but you don't know what you're going to get. So the
Mhm.
family's affected because you're constantly like, am I in fear or can I let down my guard and feel loved? What
Mhm.
am I going to be today? And that's really stressful.
Right.
And for your mom, for your brother, for you, you guys didn't have any resources. He goes off to his AA meeting and you're like, "Okay, there he goes for an hour, whatever he does, whatever that is at I'm taking these off cuz I'm making way too much noise." Um but and the family member has nothing to no support. So, I love that Lois was the person who started Al-Anon, and she was married to Bill Wilson, who was one of the founders of Alcoholics Anonymous. But a
Mhm.
lot of people don't like going there because a lot of meetings there isn't a solution. It's a lot of wah wah wah. Where your mom could go there with a bunch of women, you can all agree on, yes, he's this, but how do we fix those feelings?
Right. Exactly. Yeah. The support system just wasn't there at the time. And hopefully there are better resources for that. I mean, I equate it's the same thing as if someone is going through cancer. You could be the person going through the cancer, but you could also be the family member of that person going through cancer. And you need support too. You need someone to talk to be able to figure out how to fill your cup so that you can continue providing, giving support, and going through that also. There's got to be support. Like it's a 360 degree of support that's needed because people get worn down. Like the person trying to get sober gets worn down trying to get sober of just trying to make it one more minute, one more hour, one not drink. And the person trying to give them the support is like, okay, what's today going to be like? You're right. When they come home, what kind of attitude are they going to be in? What kind of mood are they going to be in? Is the drink just going to make things easier? I mean, because that's a viable option. Like, just let them have the drink and it's going to be a quieter night, depending on how alcohol affects that person. So, yeah, there's so many aspects to it, definitely. And Busy, I think you and I have talked about before the families that we grew up in. If it was a proper family, there was like a cocktail hour, and that was the norm. It's your Wonder Bread without the crust. That was the norm, and that's just what it was. So like for my family, when we had holidays and events, it was, well, we'll have a cocktail and we'll all talk and then we'll have dinner. And that's how it was. Or there were cocktail parties. And so my mom she saw that from a very, very early age. Now, my mom and my grandmother were 19 years apart. So they were very close. They had a very, very close relationship. They saw that. And so my mom thought that that's how she was supposed to act also. So, which I saw that come out as I was growing up and then even years later. And I this is really hard because I'm trying to talk to you, but also have reverence for both of my parents and my family who may listen to this also. This is very hard. Um, but my mom, she's an alcoholic, I think, and she won't admit it. So, and it's because of so many things, just the way that she was raised. And she would say, well, this is how I was raised. We just have a cocktail every day. And I'm like, but I see it doesn't end with one. There's more. Um, and I think that's led to a rift in our relationship also. So I have a very toxic at best relationship with my mother. Um, so all that to say, I think we take how we were raised, try and see the silver lining in it. If there is one, pray for a redemption story. I'm still walking that out. I'm trying to figure out what that redemption story looks like with both of my parents. And again, see the silver lining of, okay, what are the positives that have come from this? How can we still be uplifting people without being that also? Because I have a choice. I don't have to be an alcoholic. I don't have to drink. I can have a cocktail and it's okay. Um, there's no shame in that. I can be the bubbly person that I know God created me to be. And um not see the shame in my relationship with my parents now. I have the choice to be Belle the brand that is bubbly and not like that, despite the negative underlyings that are there with family. Yeah.
It's so for one, you're so brave, and I
Thank
have
you.
to thank you so much because this is really hard, and for me,
Mhm.
my mother's gone now, she's in heaven, but, for me, it was I had a very hard time talking, and I'm here doing this I'm in 8 years doing this podcast, and
Mhm.
I had to always be very mindful of, like, how do I talk about this? Because I don't there's so much shame, and I'm sure you've learned in church as well as I have. It's like one of the things that when God died for us on the cross, he took that shame. And
Mhm.
it's our egos that want to keep carrying the shame. And there's nothing to be ashamed of, right? And your
Yeah.
mom doesn't even have to be ashamed. It's just society is it's changing, and it's been changing the 18 years I've been sober. That more and more people, and I think this younger generation that's coming up, they don't drink as much as our generation did
Right.
because they saw it.
Mhm.
But for people like you and my kids, I want my kids to come out and say, this is what it felt like to have alcoholic parents. And it didn't
Mhm.
feel safe. And it didn't feel like, and that's what we all want to feel is safe, right? We just want to feel safe and know in our hearts that everything's going to be okay. But when
Yeah.
we're living in pure and utter chaos, it's so hard.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Well, because you don't know what the like how many drinks are there going to be tonight, or what is the outcome of this conversation going to be, because there is alcohol present. And it caused a great divide with family members in my family because there was too much drinking one night. And that's another story. And I saw the effects of it. And I think that being an alcoholic, it's chemical in your brain that some people have. I don't know what the chemical is. Some people have it, some people don't. It's an addiction. It truly, truly is an addiction. And I could see some of those same things in myself. And I was feeling a certain way. I was like, I just feel like I need a drink to calm down, or I need a drink to feel happy. And I'm like, okay, it's so connected to emotions for me. What is
Mm.
that alcoholic connection for other people as well? What does that look like? And different alcohols affect people's body differently. And like some person could have a glass of wine and they're fine. I could have a glass of wine and I'm like, ow, like, good night, I'm going to bed. So, and I don't know if people explore that enough, or busy, if they are willing to admit that they can't have this one thing because it just truly it knocks them out. And they will either black out or go to sleep really fast, or they just don't feel great the next day. I don't know if there's enough people willing to admit, because it is such a social norm and social standard to drink, that I don't know if they're willing to admit that, like, hey, I don't need to drink. It's okay because I don't feel great when I drink. Like, if you ate something that was super toxic to your body, would you continue to eat it if it felt bad? No, because that's not the social norm. So why do we continue to do this with alcohol? Why? 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 If someone
It's
knows the answer to that, please tell me.
I know because for one, as you just mentioned, for one, it's a social lubricant. It makes you feel good. So when you walk into a situation, so we know that when we're moving forward in life and we're looking in ahead, it's anxiety ridden, no matter what, right? And when we look back, it's regret and shame. So if we're walking into a party that we're like, I don't know how I'm gonna feel, Bobby and I haven't been getting along like we used to, and Johnny over there and I haven't been getting along, and I got to go walk in here, and I heard this about them, and they said this about me, gossip, gossip, gossip they had heard, and they walk in with all this fear. Well, guess what's going to get rid of the fear for 2 seconds? Booze right away. It
Yep.
hits your neurons right away. So then you can walk in, and then if you have this chemical like I do, for sure, right?
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
know that when I had that first drink, it triggers something in my neurons like a Christmas tree. It's like you plugged in a Christmas tree and the lights go on, and I want more, more, more,
Yes.
more, more.
Yep.
So the
Yeah.
only answer for someone, especially me, in my opinion, as an alcoholic, is I have to be abstinence. There is no chance of me going, well, I might have a little bit right now because the it's the first sip that touches your lips, touches your tongue, goes straight to your brain. Ding, ding, ding,
Mhm.
ding, ding. So I can't have
Yeah,
any.
yeah, and it lights it up. I think that for you, like what I'm hearing from you, it makes you like you're such a bubbly person anyway, and you have a big personality and you are so social that it exacerbates that for you and escalates it. And it's like fun busy's here. Let's go. And that's what my husband and I used to jokingly call it for me. It was like fun bells here. Let's go. And I'm like, but I can be fun without that. And I am fun without that. And I know that I am. So I don't want like that connotation either. And you're right. It's that like first sip and it's like, okay, all right, I'm here. Let's go have fun. And it reduces the stress, but I'm like, okay, why am I having this stress and why is this a coping mechanism? And that's what it is. It used to be a coping mechanism. I'm like, what is that and why? So let's get to the root of it. And you and I have talked about also before, like, I think drinking really is changing. The younger generation is seeing it as something that they don't have to do. But just a few years ago, breweries were popping up everywhere. And it's like that this is what you do. This is where you go to be social. They make the environment so welcoming and comforting. And you bring your kids there and have a birthday party there. What happened to Chuck E. Cheese? Where did Chuck E. Cheese go to have a kid's birthday party? I mean, like, I had a swimming birthday party. I can imagine if, like, my parents were there trying to watch us, like, schnockered. Like, I mean, like, I know it still happens, but what happened to Chuck E. Cheese? Instead of being like, yeah, remember my fifth birthday? It was at that brewery. I can't imagine. I'm so sorry. I can't imagine. I just can't imagine. I can't imagine. Yeah. Yeah.
So
And I
tell
know
me,
I probably offended a couple of your listeners.
no,
And
because no, you aren't offending anybody, and we don't worry about. We're just hoping that somebody hears something that helps them. So tell me this: when you were a child and this was going on, and then your mom's meeting somebody else, did you go to church as a child?
we we started going more consistently as after my parents got married. So my mom and my stepdad got married when I was 5. So we were looking for churches. So I would say that growing up I was a little bit my religion was I was kind of like the pound puppy. I was the mutt of religions. So my grandparents were Episcopalian. So we would go to the Episcopalian church. It's very formal. I loved the formality about it. There was something like, okay, all right, we're gonna stand now. We're gonna kneel. We're gonna sit. And I'm like, when do we do what? This is great. So constantly entertained in church, which not the right manner, but I was also a child, so I was trying to figure it out. And then growing up with my mom and my stepdad, we primarily went to a Presbyterian church. We landed on Presbyterian, and that was still, it was very dry and prescriptive, if you will.
Yeah.
You go in, you sing a hymn, there's children's lesson, you sing another hymn, there's announcements, the sermon, you sing a hymn, and you leave. So it was very, very prescriptive. So I grew up with a faith filled background, and my grandmother was a devout Christian. And we would talk a little bit of religion, more politics, because it just seemed to be more heated conversations, and everyone got involved in politics. So we would talk a little bit about religion, but not a lot, not a lot. And it wasn't really until college where I was able to go to college, make my own decisions, drink, and figure out what kind of person I was really going to be, and found my own walk of faith in college. And I truly, truly think because of my college experience, God really, really, like, number one, I truly was saved in college. I developed a personal relationship with Christ in college. And it just really brought me to life and showed me that I can be my own person and I don't have to be who my family says that I was or who they dictated for me to be, which really ticked my family off. um so yeah, I found myself in college, which was great, and developed a deeper relationship with my and a religious background in college.
That's amazing. And what made you like, were you in a sorority? What made you go? Like, I find it so fascinating when I hear that people find Christ in college. I'm like, wait a minute, aren't you supposed to be at a fraternity party or going to the football tailgates and everybody's doing all this crazy stuff? And you're like, on Sunday morning, you're going to church. Like, how did that happen?
Yeah. Well, so I did go to a private Christian college, which I never thought that I would be at a private Christian college, but looking back on it was definitely the wisest choice for me because if I'd gone to a larger school, I would have gotten lost and might not be alive now.
Yeah.
But we had religion classes that we had to go to. It was required. But I went for my communications degree. The school was smaller. I knew that I would have more of a hands-on approach and I would be a name and not a number, which at 17, 18 years old, I thought was very an adult decision of me to
Yes.
make. And I had almost a full ride as well. I'd gotten enough scholarships to pay for my education. And so I could afford to go to a private college. Um, so I made friends really quickly and got involved with the athletes at the school. I didn't play sports, but I was a lifeguard. And so I got to know a lot of the students very, very quickly, a lot of the athletes very quickly, a lot of the coaches very quickly, because again, it was a smaller school. And then by the grace of God, we had a group that was called Fellowship of Christian Athletes. And even though I wasn't an athlete, they knew that I knew how to play sports. And they're like, oh, come on, just come join us. So I joined Fellowship of Christian Athletes. And through those people, I was able to see that I could have a deep walk with Christ and still be like a normal person. Like I didn't feel like I was a crazy person and, with my religion and I could build my own faith the way that it was meant for me to build it, not how someone else had dictated it to me. And they were all so patient and kind and were like, answered my very elementary questions about faith. I mean, I'd grown up in church. I knew the very basics of church, um, and the Bible lessons, but diving deeper is completely different. So that was one aspect of how I grew up. One aspect of college. The other aspect was I want to be a normal college student. So, yes, I was at the parties and I was drinking and I was still doing the things that were fun, to have like a normal college setting for myself. But thank goodness for this group of friends that my heart and my brain were being tugged back in that direction. And it was setting a very, very, very firm foundation for my faith, and for my faith to grow and and start building a relationship with Christ. So,
I love that. It's like you were saved, like literally, because coming
yes.
from that background where drinking was the answer, and you get into this place where everybody's doing that. Come on, let's do it, and all the social pressure and everything, and you decided to
Yeah.
go. You know what? God called me over here. I'm gonna go.
Yeah. Yeah. There was always something that was pulling me back into my faith. And, I will be very clear, like I drank and up until probably just a few months ago, I drank. I was more of a social drinker. I drank because of stress in the work the work that I do. And my last corporate job really almost did me in. So yeah, I don't want to make any bones about it that I was a super Christian, super sober, because I was not. I really wasn't. I've had the nights where I was like, I wish I hadn't drank that much. The next morning, I wish I hadn't drank that much. This was awful. So yeah, I've had those moments, but I truly, truly know that it was because of my college experience that laid such a firm foundation for me to be able to have a relationship with Christ that kept me more grounded. And it was like, I don't have to be the alcoholic in my family. Like it can stop with me, and that's fine. It can stop with me, and I'm
It's
okay with
just,
that.
it's just amazing. And where did you meet Jonathan, your husband?
We met in college. We met in college and we couldn't have been any more different. We both had very outgoing personalities, which probably drew us to each other. But he grew up in a family that didn't drink. And his family was very religious. I mean, he was at church multiple times a week. He led another Christian organization at our college. And we started out as really good friends. We started out playing on intramural teams together. And then I had actually turned him down a couple of times for dates because I was like, I don't know how this is going to work because my family is so different than his family. We come from very different backgrounds. And there is something to be said for that, where you need to have some kind of common thread. And um, I will absolutely say that Jonathan's a huge testament to my faith. He has he's helped me grow my faith and we're still growing with each other. I'm able to come to him and ask questions, and he has been such a great leader and a solid foundation for me in my faith and has been since college. So,
Isn't that
yeah, we've been
amazing?
married 21 years.
21?
21 years. Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
Oh my gosh, I had no idea. How old were you when you got married?
22. 22. Yeah, we were
Oh.
very young. We were very young. I never, ever, ever thought that I would get married that young. Never. But I knew that it was a God ordained relationship and God ordained marriage. I mean, we went through the breakup. I was like, this is not for me. I'm not gonna do this. And we got back together and I was like, okay, this is it. This is it. So yeah, I'm so proud of him. So proud of
Oh
him.
my
And
gosh, and what did your parents think?
they told when Jonathan asked for my hand in marriage, they told him no.
Okay, you guys, if you're listening and you're not watching this on YouTube, my jaw just dropped, and I was like, "Wait a minute, what?" They said no.
Mhm. Yeah, because also with my family and part of being just proper, it's all about the outside look. It's all about the aesthetics, and which is also why this is very hard for me to talk about because that's how I was raised.
Right.
You put your game face on, you put your blush on, you put your lipstick on, and you go. So it's all about the aesthetics. And my parents want the best for their children. They want the absolute best for their children. And they wanted me to marry doctor, dentist, lawyer, fill in that blank where I would never have to work. I'm like, why the heck did I go to college then? Why did God give me a brain so that I could do something with my brain? Um, and I always knew I was going to be a career woman. I'm like, I'm ready to go. God has something huge for me and I'm going to make it happen. So yeah, they told him no because my husband was a teacher. He taught for 20 years. I mean, I don't know. Praise to the teachers because if you've never taught a day in your life, you don't know how hard it is. And dealing with the children and the administration, the school systems, politics alone, insane, absolutely insane. So they told him no because they never saw a way that I wouldn't have to work or how would we ever be able to take care of a family or have the things in life that we wanted and all the things that you can't take with you when you die, busy, all those
Oh
things,
my gosh. Oh
the
my
things, the
gosh.
stuff.
And you didn't care. And you didn't care.
No, I mean, of course it was very, very hurtful and extremely hurtful. But my husband and I were able to, we sat and we had a very real and raw and rough conversation with one another and said, look, we're adults. We can make this decision. And we did. We did. And my wedding day could have been much, much, much more joyful than it was. Of course, we had a beautiful wedding. Of course, from the outside, it was gorgeous. However, my bridesmaids were on alert to like, if my mom dare stands up and starts to say anything, they were going to tackle her um, so that she would say no. She wouldn't be able to
Oh
say anything.
gosh.
So, Um, yeah, and then of course, the reception, we had an open bar, which was a little controversial with, my husband's family not drinking, but he has alcoholics in his family also. Um, and then my family having fun, and it was a beautiful reception. I think people had a lot of fun. So, yeah, it would just it, we there's we're still looking for a redemption story in a lot of this. There's not always the fairy tale ending to your story, but my story's still going. So there's still hope in there. And again, someone can take this story and know that you have the choice to find those silver linings and those positive aspects of your life to keep going, keep going, and know that there's other people out there like you. Um, I wish my parents were different. I wish I had deeper relationships with them. I wish that they would take the opportunity to get to know me as their daughter and the child that they created better, but they've chosen not to right now. And I'm going to keep moving forward. I'm going to keep moving forward.
You
Yeah.
are so strong. Okay, by the way, you are so strong, and I love and I'm thinking of this right word, and it's like you are so God-fearing and you are so trusting in the Lord and knowing intuitively what was right for you, and it didn't matter what anybody else said. And so many people are worried about the outside stuff. And
Yeah.
you knew on the inside, and it makes me want to cry. So I got to do this because I'm going to cry to think that you had the fortitude and the strength to go through it with it because it wasn't about the dog and pony show. It was about you and your husband coming together and saying, I do. And
Mhm.
I love that you are such a strong businesswoman, but you still have this respect for your husband because he's your man.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
and you guys have this like the world that we live in so much. And the day after this, the next day after this comes out is a week from then is the election, this crazy election that's
Mhm.
coming up. And all my listeners know that I'm a huge Trumper, and I'm not going to say what you are unless you want to. She's by the way, she's cheering. She's going, yeah.
Absolutely. Yes, please.
Yeah, and it's because it's interesting because they say, and of course this happened in the '60s, and I was born in 1968. The women's lib, and it kind of changed a woman's like, who are you supposed to be? Are you supposed to be in the kitchen barefoot and pregnant, or can you be the powerhouse woman but still give respect to your husband and show him that he is the king of your castle?
Yeah.
And he is your man. And that is where I think a lot has changed since 1968. It's like so many people are confused. And I've always been one to say, I am so proud that I've done the things I've done, but I love my man.
Yes. Yeah. And there's freedom in both sides of that. There absolutely is. And we have got to get back to strong men who aren't afraid to talk about their beliefs and their leadership and their servant heart that they can also have. Why do we have such weak men now? Why? There's got to be a change and a shift. And I think there really is, Busy. I think there is. I'm seeing it with the group of men that my husband is surrounding himself with. They are becoming undaunted with the ways of the world, and they are breaking through the darkness. They know that there is a spiritual battle, just like with alcoholism. There's a spiritual battle every single day. There's a mental battle going on in your brain, and we are called in Ephesians 20 to put on the armor of God every single day. And I know that these men who my husband, your husband, they are fighting for other men to do the same thing. You can be a strong servant leader. That is not two separate words. It is the same word. Servant leader. It's hyphenated. They can be that. And we've got to get our men back there. There's no hope for the world if we don't. If we don't.
Amen. And Jonathan, so he left teaching,
He did.
and now what is he doing?
So he is managing a chiropractic office. And so he's managing the chiropractors in the office, he's managing the employees and just doing everything for their office so that the chiropractors can go and serve in the way that they are serving. And the owners of the chiropractic office, it's a couple, and they have an incredible family. They are God fearing, and this is how they are taking the message of God to the world through healing people's bodies, and just showing that your body can be healed through chiropractic care. Your body was designed to heal itself, emergency medicine aside. So he gets to be a part of that and speak with their patients and help deliver the incredible kingdom message every day in their office, and by helping them and getting their business, just keeping their business going and aligning them with the right partnerships also. So it was a complete 180 for him to do
Oh,
this to do this.
and
Yeah,
you both have made huge changes in the last couple of years with you
yeah,
leaving corporate America,
yeah,
him leaving a steady paycheck going, and I'm sure insurance and everything else that you get that comes with that.
yeah.
And you took this leap of faith
Yes. Yeah, yeah,
and you
absolutely.
did it.
Yeah.
And what gave you guys the courage to do that?
I mean, God truly is a lot of prayer, and, and being as prepared as we possibly can also. And my husband's family is so, so, so supportive. I have been able to see what a supportive family looks like. And I'm so blessed by that. I have the most amazing father-in-law and just adore him. And mother-in-law also. I mean, they're incredibly supportive, and they're like, okay, great. They don't even ask if we've prayed over it. They know that we've prayed over our decisions, and they're like, great. What do you need from us? Let's go. So yeah, it's been such a shift to see what a supportive family can look like versus my family, because we got completely different responses from my family when we decided to take, both of these or when we decided to make both of these shifts. So, um yeah.
It's crazy because do you think there's so many people that are so fearful today, right? And
Mhm.
before we prayed, Belle's
Yeah.
prayed for us this morning before we recorded this. And one of the things she said was that, God, please not only speak through us, but that we're doing God's. We don't need to have fear. There's no fear
Mhm.
needed.
Mhm.
And the way you just described you guys walking through this whole thing of like doing whatever, starting your own things. It's so interesting because Barack Obama just came out and said, no American has ever started his own thing. It's with the government behind him. And I'm like, I don't think the government was
No.
behind you when you guys made this decision at
Yeah,
all.
exactly. Nope. Nope. Nope.
It was God. And so you have all this faith and not so much fear.
Mhm. Well, I mean, first of all, we're all broken vessels. And if you see a broken vessel, that's where the light gets through. That's where you allow God, if you ask God in, allow Christ to shine through you, and people are going to see your cracks, and it is okay. And I say that being one who has an amazing game face, and I can go into performance mode like nobody's business. So it's hard for me to show those cracks in having the just being scared to take a step, to take that leap, but it is in faith that we do it. Could I be wrong? Sure. What's the worst that's going to happen? I'm not dead. I still live another day to build God's kingdom. Faith
Mm.
and fear cannot exist in the same space. They cannot. If you have fear, there's no way that you have faith and believe in an almighty God that has built this immaculate kingdom that will one day bring heaven to earth, that is going to be absolute perfection. And I was actually talking about this yesterday on an Instagram story. We're going through Revelation. And if you've never read Revelation, it's scary. Like, it is scary. Like, talking about the living creatures that are covered with eyeballs, covered with eyeballs. What would you do if you saw that just walking through your front yard? I'd be like, what the heck is that? But because we are faith-filled people and we're faithful, we read our Bible, we know that when we see those things, we are not going to have fear. But what we are going to do is know, oh my gosh, that is from God. God wrote it in his word. We know that is from God. And the other things that don't exist that we don't know of, that's not from God. Absolutely not. I will not fear that. And that's where we have to train ourselves to get to know what faith is. We train ourselves now to be prepared to know what faith is. We walk in faith now, we are prepared in the future to have that continued walk of faith. And it's going to be scary, but I will not be taken down by fear. I won't. I refuse to. Refuse to. Yeah.
It's just amazing. So tell us a little bit about why you decided to start your business, what your business is called. Give us a little more information about that so my listeners can hear all about what you're doing.
Absolutely. So my business is Blueprint by Belle. And I came up with the name of that because God really designed everything on earth and he gave us a crazy immaculate blueprint for all of these things that exist: humans, animals, flowers, houses. And I wanted to help people build a brand on a solid foundation. And you build a brand, your house of brands, with a blueprint. Let me give you the blueprint. Let's go build that house together. So Blueprint by Belle, that's the business. I left my corporate job probably 4 years ago now, 4.5. Oh, it's been that long. I wasn't the right fit for the job. Job was not the right fit for me. And it was a constant struggle. I was there for about 3.5 years. I loved the people that I worked with. It was a great, great company. They were doing great things. I was doing marketing. I had done marketing for 20 years, but I was so burnt out and just crushed that I was like, I don't even think I can do marketing anymore. I don't know anything. It was so exhausting. I was having panic attacks. I do not have I'm not that girl. No, no, no. I'm not the girl that has panic attacks and anxiety attacks. I'm bubbly Belle. Like, life is great. Like, I can see a silver lining in just about anything. Like, if someone hands me a bag of poop, I'm like, what are we going to make with it? Let's go fertilize something. What are we going to fertilize today? So I see the reality in it. Let's go do something with it. And I just gotten to the point where I was not that anymore. I was drinking way too much. I was drinking to cope. I was drinking to cope. And my husband was like, this is not you. This is not the Belle that I married. This is not the woman that God designed you to be. So what are we going to do? And I was like, I don't know. I had started looking for jobs and he was like, you've got to leave this job now. So we were able to start working and reverse engineering our finances. And I actually had, so I've carried a similar notebook for years, 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 years. So in my notebook, I had a letter of resignation and I was going into a meeting and I had my letter of resignation in my notebook and I actually got laid off that day. By God's grace, I got laid off because I got severance. And I was like, yeah. So, so I was like, well, I'm just going to keep my little resignation letter here. And so I stuck my head in the sand for a little bit and I was like, what am I going to do with my life? I'm not good enough to do marketing anymore. But truly, like I had such a great network of people. They were like, hey, what are you doing? Can you project manage this job for us over here? Can you do this for us over here? And hey, I have a conference that I'm going to. What should I wear? You make this look so easy. So fast forward, here I am in my business. I have been able to meld together, mold together this incredible business of helping people work on their
Oh my gosh, you can see it. It's your joy. It's your joy. And you guys still are, all these years later, you still participate in church. In fact, your husband, Jonathan, was just made deacon. Congratulations on that. Oh my gosh. And you're there playing the violin. So amazing. You're such an amazing example. And I want to ask you one quick question. Well, two more questions. One is about forgiveness because it talks about in the Bible all the time. Have you read the Bible, by the way, from beginning to end? I'm like so excited. So I'm starting on Advent, the first day of the Advent calendar of this year, which is December. I think it's December 1st. I'm starting to. This is going to be the first time I'm doing this, and I'm so excited. So any tips you can give me, I can't wait to hear. But all of our answers, last night I went to, I was doing this thing called Alpha, which you talk about God and prayer, and they were talking about the Bible yesterday. And we, at this group, I was at a table group with all these different people that were different walks of life, different ages, everything. And it was amazing. And I said, I want to do this Bible study, and they're all game to do it with us. So, but you know what I thought is that, oh my gosh, I just lost my thought. It's listening to what other people's how they take this. And I know what I was going to say. Every answer you're ever looking for, you can find in that book. Isn't that amazing? Yes, it is. So, how do you, and I just want to ask this for the listeners that are out there that have dealt with parents the same way that your parents are. And to you, I don't think you ever forget, but you forgive. Mhm. Exactly. Oh my god. Okay, with it almost well, I already mentioned that we're a week away, a week and a day away from this crazy election. And I'm just going to share with you. So, for me personally, I've woken up my husband many times of late and gone, okay, what are we going to do if he doesn't win? What are we going to do? I'm like, oh my God, wake up. What are we going to do? He's been, oh my gosh, relax. He's going to win. He's going to win. But what do you do with that anxiety that you feel like because we have no control, right? All we can do is cast our vote as Americans. Hopefully that they're real and everybody that's a real person that's an American taxpayer that's voting, but we'll see what happens with that. So how do you and Jonathan together as husband and wife deal with the fear of not knowing what's going to happen? And maybe even your father-in-law is involved in this one too, because I know you guys live close. And oh, yeah. I just love this. It was amazing. It was amazing. Thank you so much for coming and saying yes. You guys, if you want to reach out to Belle, I'm gonna have all of her information in this in the description. You can click and you can email her from there. You can follow her on all of her social and all of that. You can go to her website, all of that. Just go to the description that's right here next to this podcast, wherever you're watching this, or you can go to busylivingsober.com. It has been such a pleasure. Thank you so much. God bless you and Jonathan. And I'm so happy to call you my friend. God, oh gosh, I won't. You know it. Okay, everybody. I hope you enjoyed today's show. And until next time, everybody, keep getting busy living. So, bye, everybody.